3:17 a.m. The Red Sea, 70 miles southwest of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The USS Gerald R. forward is not supposed to be visible from shore. It is. 18 seconds ago, the Aegis radar system aboard the USS Leyte Gulf detected the first launch signature off the Yemeni coastline. Then a second. Then 4 more simultaneously. Then the system stopped counting individual launches and started counting waves. 31 inbound contacts. A mix of anti-ship ballistic missiles, subsonic cruise missiles, and one-way attack drones. All of them with a single locked coordinate. The largest warship the United States Navy has ever built. The Ford is already turning. Full rudder, flank speed, 33 knots of steel, and jet fuel trying to become a smaller target in open water. It will not be enough to run. The Combat Information Center aboard the Leyte Gulf is not panicking. It is not shouting. It is doing something far more dangerous to the Houthis than either of those things. It is working. SM-2s are already in the air. The CIWS systems across the strike group are spinning up in automatic mode. The EA-18G Growler overhead is flooding the Houthi targeting frequencies with white noise. And somewhere beneath the surface of the Red Sea, a Virginia-class submarine just received a targeting package it has been waiting 3 days to use. 31 contacts, 6 ships, 11 minutes. The Houthis just made the last mistake they will make tonight. But first, rewind the clock, because what is about to happen in the next 11 minutes was not decided tonight. It was decided years ago in testing facilities and war colleges and the nightmares of every surface warfare commander who ever studied what a mass missile attack on a carrier strike group actually looks like. Go back 38 minutes before the first launch, because that is when this engagement was already won. The Houthi command center in the mountains east of Sana'a is alive with radio traffic. For 3 weeks, Houthi intelligence has been tracking the Ford strike group through a combination of commercial satellite imagery, fishing vessel reports, and Iranian-supplied targeting data. They know the carrier's approximate position. They know its escort pattern. They know the destroyers rotate their radar emission schedules every 6 hours to avoid predictable signatures. What they do not know is that the USS Leyte Gulf's and /spy 1D radar has been in passive collection mode for 72 hours. Not transmitting, not announcing its presence, just listening, cataloging every Houthi radar emission, every launch site that powers up and powers down, every frequency the targeting systems use to talk to each other. The Houthi commanders believe they are invisible. They have been watched since Tuesday. At 2:41 a.m., the Houthi launch coordinator gives the order to begin the sequencing. This is the part that took months to plan. Not a single massive volley that is too easy to track and intercept in one wave. Instead, a layered attack. First, the ballistic missiles, launched from mobile platforms in the highlands. Then the cruise missiles, sea skimming at 50 feet, designed to arrive as the defensive systems are reloading. Then the drones, dozens of them, cheap, slow, and almost invisible to radar at low altitude, designed to overwhelm whatever is left of the strike group's defensive capacity after the first 2 waves have forced it to spend its interceptors. It is a sophisticated plan. It took real military minds to design it. The Iranian advisors who helped build it understand layered attacks, saturation tactics, and the mathematics of magazine depletion. What those advisors did not account for is that the strike group has been watching them build this plan for 72 hours, and it has already built a better one. The moment the first Houthi ballistic missile clears its launcher, the /spy 1D radar aboard the Leyte Gulf has already classified it. Not identified, classified. There is a difference that matters enormously in the next 11 minutes. Identification is what a human being does, looking at a radar return and asking, what is that? Classification is what the Aegis combat system does, processing the radar cross-section, velocity, trajectory, and launch point of every single contact simultaneously and assigning each one a threat priority before any human in the Combat Information Center has finished reading the first contact off the board. 31 contacts. The Aegis system classifies all 31 in under 4 seconds. This is not an exaggeration. The /spy 1D radar rotates at speeds that allow it to update the position of every tracked contact multiple times per second. The Aegis combat system behind it processes that data through threat evaluation algorithms that were designed specifically for this scenario, a simultaneous mass attack from multiple vectors, at multiple altitudes, using multiple weapon types. The system does not get overwhelmed by 31 contacts. It was built and tested and refined over 40 years specifically so that 31 contacts is a manageable number. The Houthis built a plan to saturate American defenses. American defenses were built to be unsaturable. The firing solution for the first wave of SM-2 block EA-18G interceptors is complete before the Houthi ballistic missiles have reached their apogee. The Lady Gulf begins its launch sequence. 1 SM-2 away, then 2, then 4 in rapid succession. The vertical launch system sending interceptors into the sky with the methodical precision of a system that has run this sequence 10,000 times in simulation and knows exactly how long each step takes. Each SM-2 costs $2 million. Each Houthi ballistic missile costs somewhere between $1 and $3 million, depending on the variant. The exchange rate is close to even on the first wave. That is about to change dramatically. 2 minutes into the engagement, the EA-18G Growler orbiting at altitude above the strike group does something the Houthi targeting systems have no answer for. It lies to them. The Growler is not a fighter. It carries no bombs, no air-to-air missiles, no weapons designed to destroy physical targets. What it carries instead is the most sophisticated airborne electronic warfare suite the United States has ever put on a tactical aircraft. The /ALQ 99 jamming system, capable of identifying, analyzing, and disrupting enemy radar and communications frequencies across a range that covers everything the Houthis are using tonight. The Houthi cruise missiles in the second wave are not flying blind. They are guided by active radar seekers, small antennas in their nose cones that send out pulses of energy and listen for the reflection off a large metal target. The carrier is the largest metal target in the Red Sea. Under normal circumstances, the seeker heads would find it without difficulty. The Growler makes these circumstances anything but normal. The jamming signal the Growler is pumping into the Houthi targeting frequencies does not simply block the seeker heads. It feeds them false information. It tells each incoming cruise missile that the carrier is somewhere it is not. Some missiles begin tracking a ghost return 15 miles north of the actual fort. Others begin circling, their seeker heads confused by competing return signals that the jamming system is generating faster than the missile's onboard computers can resolve. A Houthi cruise missile that cannot find its target is not a threat. It is a very expensive piece of debris waiting to hit the water. 7 of the 14 cruise missiles in the second wave lose targeting lock within 90 seconds of the Growler beginning its jamming run. They will not reacquire. Their seeker heads are not sophisticated enough to burn through the interference the Growler is generating. 7 remain. The Aegis system has already assigned interceptors to all 7. For minutes into the engagement, the strike group is no longer just defending. It is executing. The SM-6 is the weapon that changed the mathematics of carrier defense when it entered service, and tonight it is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Unlike the SM-2, which engages threats in the atmosphere at medium range, the SM-6 can engage targets at the edge of the atmosphere, at sea level, and everything in between, including the ballistic missiles that the Houthi first wave sent arcing over the horizon on high trajectories designed to defeat shorter-range interceptors. The SM-6 does not care about trajectory. It cares about the target. 3 Houthi ballistic missiles survive the initial SM-2 intercept basket. They are now in their terminal descent phase, dropping toward the carrier at velocities that compress the remaining engagement window to seconds. The Aegis system has already calculated that the SM-2s assigned to these 3 contacts will not reach intercept geometry in time. Without human intervention, without a commander issuing a new order, the system automatically reassigns. 3 SM-6 launch from the Leyte Gulf's vertical launch system in a single salvo. This is the part that does not make the news, but defines the outcome. The Aegis system reassigned those intercepts and launched replacement interceptors in less than 2 seconds. No human decision, no radio call between ships. The combat system identified the gap in its own coverage and closed it before the crew finished processing that the gap existed. 2 of the 3 SM-6 intercepts are clean kills at altitude. High above the Red Sea, 2 Houthi ballistic missiles detonate in blinding flashes of fragmentation, visible from the carrier deck below as brief white starbursts against the black sky. The third intercept is partial. The SM-6 kills the motor section of the inbound, but does not destroy the warhead. The debris continues downward on a ballistic arc. It is no longer a precision weapon. It is a falling piece of metal. But falling metal at terminal velocity in the direction of a carrier is still a problem, and the CIWS systems on the Ford's escort destroyers are already tracking it. 7 minutes in, the drone wave arrives. This is what the Houthis planned as the kill shot. Not the ballistic missiles. Those were designed to force the Aegis systems to spend interceptors. Not the cruise missiles. Those were designed to force the Growler to commit its jamming bandwidth. The drones are the weapon that was supposed to arrive after the defenses were exhausted, flying low and slow and invisible to radar that is focused on fast-moving threats at altitude. There are 19 drones in the third wave. They have been flying nap of the Earth since launch, 50 feet above the wave tops, below the radar horizon of every ship in the strike group. They're not sophisticated. They're not fast. They're not expensive. They cost approximately $20,000 each. The strike group has been waiting for them for 6 minutes. The SH-60 Seahawk helicopters that launched from the Ford and its escorts at the beginning of the engagement have been flying a perimeter pattern at low altitude 1 minute after the first Houthi ballistic missiles launched. Their radar systems, designed specifically for low-altitude surface and air search, have been tracking the drone wave since it crossed the Yemeni coastline. The targeting data has been feeding directly into the strike group's combat network the entire time. The drones are not invisible. They have been watched since launch. As the drone wave enters the outer defensive perimeter of the strike group, the Seahawks begin engagement. Each helicopter carries AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, a weapon designed for precision strikes on small, fast-moving targets, originally built for anti-armor work and adapted for exactly this kind of low-altitude threat engagement. The first Hellfire leaves its rail. 9 of the 19 drones are gone. The remaining 10 reach the inner defensive perimeter. The CIWS takes them. The Phalanx close-in weapon system is the last line. It is a 20mm Gatling cannon that fires 4,500 rounds per minute, guided by its own onboard radar, operating in fully automatic mode with no human in the decision loop. It does not wait for orders. It does not ask for confirmation. The moment a contact enters its engagement envelope and a combat system designates it as hostile, the CIWS fires. 10 drones, 10 CIWS engagement sequences. The sound across the carrier deck is described by every sailor who has heard it the same way, like canvas tearing, but louder than anything canvas has any right to be. 9 of the 10 drones are destroyed before they reach the hull. One gets through the CIWS burst. It impacts the flight deck catwalk on the Ford's port side. The shaped charge it carries punches a hole through the catwalk railing and detonates against the hull below the flight deck level. Damage control teams are on the site in 40 seconds. The hull is not breached. The flight deck is operational. 3 sailors are treated for fragmentation injuries. The engagement is effectively over. 11 minutes after the first launch. The Red Sea is quiet again except for the sound of the Ford's engines and the distant splash of debris hitting the water. The after-action count tells the story the Houthis did not want told. 31 weapons launched. One made contact. That contact caused minor damage and 3 non-critical casualties on the largest warship in the U.S. Navy. The carrier never stopped moving. The flight deck never went offline. The strike group never broke formation. What the Houthis spent to achieve that result. The entirety of their prepared attack package. Ballistic missiles that took months to transport and position. Cruise missiles supplied through Iranian networks at costs that strain even Iranian logistics. 19 drones assembled and pre-positioned at significant operational risk. And the element of surprise, which they did not actually have, but believe they did, which is in some ways worse. What the strike group spent, a precisely calculated number of interceptors, all of which were already accounted for in the magazine management plan the weapons officer had built before the engagement began. The Leyte Gulf's vertical launch system is not empty. It is not close to empty. The Ford's flight operations will resume at dawn. The mathematics of this exchange do not favor the Houthis. But the Houthis know that. The exchange rate was never the point. The point was the world watching a David throw 31 stones at Goliath. 11 of those stones needed to miss for the story to work. All 30 did. The strike group held. its systems performed, its crew executed with the precision that years of training and doctrine produce when the moment arrives, and there is no more time to prepare. But the strategic question this engagement raises is not about one night in the Red Sea. The Houthis have fired hundreds of missiles and drones at commercial shipping and U.S. naval assets since this campaign began. Each engagement costs the strike group interceptors. Each resupply requires a logistics chain that stretches from American manufacturing facilities across an ocean to a ship that cannot easily leave its operational area to rearm. The Houthis pay $20,000 for a drone. The U.S. Navy pays $2 million to shoot it down. That exchange rate, sustained across months of low-intensity conflict, creates a pressure on American naval logistics that no single engagement victory resolves. The Navy knows this. The investment in directed energy weapons, laser systems that cost $1 per shot, is driven precisely by this arithmetic. The counter-drone programs, the development of lower-cost interceptors for lower-cost threats, the doctrine revisions around using helicopters and guns instead of missiles against drone swarms. All of it is a response to the cost problem that the Houthis, almost certainly with Iranian guidance, have identified and are deliberately exploiting. One carrier strike group, one night, 31 threats, one contact. The crew brought their ship home. The harder question, whether the American defense industrial base is building the next generation of solutions fast enough to stay ahead of the next generation of threats, is a question that this engagement sharpens without answering. That answer is still being written. Somewhere in the Yemeni highlands tonight, another launch team is already positioning. And somewhere in the Red Sea, the Aegis radar is already listening